This podcast episode is brought to you by OWC, Whisper Room, Spectre 1964, PreSonus Studio One, and Jay-Z microphones. So get ready to rock.
First comments one of the fans put was, "Hey Glenn, you should do a gate pedal. Call it the cock blocker." And I'm like, "That's a fucking fantastic idea. I am gonna do that." I called up my very good buddy Henning Pauly from the channel HP42. He really knows his pedals very well. And I'm like, "If you could do a gate pedal, what would you have on it?" We just discussed it for a little while. He's like, "Well, it should do this, 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 and this." And I'm like, "Okay, great." So I called up the designer. I'm like, "Can we do this?" And he's like, "Yep, let's do it." 3 weeks later, I had a prototype.
Welcome to Recording Studio Rockstars. I'm Lid Shaw, and this is the podcast created to help you become a rock star of the recording studio. If you feel like the fast pace of computer tech has made your studio Mac obsolete, then think again. OWC is your personal studio tech for memory and speed upgrades, DIY installs, and used Macs perfect for recording and mixing. Why ditch your existing computer when you can take your studio far into the future with the Mac you've already got? Learn how to supercharge your studio and find out how awesome your Mac can be at OWC.com so that you can focus on making great music. If you're sick of bothering the neighbors when you're trying to record your music or ruining your recordings with outside noises, but you're not ready to spend a fortune on permanent studio construction yet, then consider getting a Whisper Room ISO booth for your studio. Whisper Room offers an instant solution for a comfortable, quiet, ventilated, portable ISO booth with easy line of sight for recording vocals, guitar amps, or even drums. Get 10% off the 4x4 or 4x6 booth when you mention Recording Studio Rockstars at whisperroom.com. Hey Rockstars, it's your host Lid Shaw, and welcome back to Recording Studio Rockstars, bringing you into the studio to learn from recording professionals so that you can make your best record ever and be a rock star of the studio yourself. My guest today is Glenn Fricker, a musician, engineer, and host of a very successful YouTube channel at Spectre Sound Studios, where he teaches great insights into recording and mixing heavy metal, and offers fearless and ruthless gear reviews, which you'll definitely want to see. Glenn loves making records, and after doing it for 16 years, he decided to pass on what he's learned through tutorials, how to record guitar, bass, real drums, vocals, how to mix. You'll find reviews and demos of tube amps, amp sims, drums, mics, preamps, outboard gear, and plug-in effects. Everything you wanted to learn about recording hard rock and heavy metal can be found right at Spectre Sound Studios. Glenn also is designing guitar pedals, or at least the one that I know of, pretty exciting, and releasing something called the cock blocker gate, which is designed to create perfectly tight, heavy guitar performances. Really awesome pedal. I want to get one for my studio. So excited to hang with you, Glenn. I know your time is short, so we're going to jump right into it. Please welcome Glenn Fricker to Recording Studio Rockstars. Glenn, are you ready to rock?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.
Dude,
a real pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure, man. Now, this is not your first time at the Toy Box Studio. It's your first virtual visitation.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah, I came out Summer NAMM there, 2 years ago? Or was it 3?
Yeah, it was like maybe it was 2018 or 17 or something like that.
I think it was 2017, yeah.
Yeah, it was ages ago. And that was when we did the super fun, 10 bloggers and YouTubers all in a round here at the studio.
Right, that was a lot of fun. Just want to say, free the Toy Box!
Epic. It was an epic event, man. It was great to meet you then. So, of course, between then and now, I've learned a ton about you, and I enjoy hanging out with you and running into you when we go to these events and stuff. You know,
I just saw you in New York about a month and a half ago.
Yeah,
that was fun.
Which will date this by the time it comes out, but still, the thing is, we never actually get to hang out. We're always just like, hey, man, and we'll just walk right past each other because everybody's on such a mission at these events.
Oh, tell me about it.
So give us a brief introduction to who you are, man. How'd you get into the music thing, the band thing? I think you must have played and toured and stuff, but I don't know anything about it. And then give us an introduction to your channel.
Okay. Wow. Went to college in 1989 for media arts, took a whole bunch of different disciplines, video, audio, all that kind of stuff. When I graduated college, I came home to Windsor, Ontario. That's where I live. most of the time, and got in a band, sang in a band for a couple of years, in a metal band. That went, did that for about 2 years, and promptly went absolutely nowhere. And then got hired. Alongside that, I got hired in the manufacturing industry, which I'm not going to disclose until the day I actually sign my retirement, which is fast approaching. But worked in manufacturing for 25 years, and decided to take my money and invest into a recording studio because, hey, it's audio. It'll be easy. It'll be cheap.
Right.
That's what 23-year-old me thought. Wow. Boy, was I wrong. But anyway, opened up a recording studio in 98 and been doing it right up until now. It's what kept me sane. You work on an assembly line and it can be utterly mind-numbing. So what I did was I read everything I could get my hands on about the subject of recording. I'd read like Mix, EQ, Recording Magazine, all that stuff, the reader's tapes, reviews, all that kind of stuff. I always loved that bit.
So I'm trying to picture this. So you're running like heavy manufacturing machinery with the magazine in one hand, and like
exactly.
Pressing the "don't chop somebody's arm off" button with the other hand.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And reading anything and everything I could get my hands on the subject about recording, and did that for a number of years. Like I said, opened my studio in 1998, and I don't know. Finally started making records I could palette in about 2006.
Yeah, it takes a minute. Although it wasn't any less fun when our records first sucked.
Oh no! I had an absolute blast, but it was always like, well, one of these days my guitar sounds will sound right, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
that was Spectre Sound. The first studio opens is still Spectre Sound Studios.
Yep. Yeah. I'm on studio number 2. I originally started in my basement in this tiny little wartime house. And then, we moved out of the city, and my wife found the spot actually, and it was a house with a detached 2-car garage. It was cinder block, and we converted that into a studio, and it was great. So, I can make as much noise as I want and not disturb the wife. That's
awesome.
That's always good.
Were you starting a studio in what felt like a music hub, or like not a music hub at all?
No, just a studio, you know what I mean? Just somewhere to record local bands, that kind of thing. And, did the occasional, somebody would fly in every once in a blue moon, or, drive down from Toronto or something like that. I mean, like, Windsor is kind of its own thing. It's right on the border next to Detroit. And culturally, it's very much removed from the rest of Canada. It's almost like being an American. It's heavily influenced. I mean, like, we measure temperature in the fall. We measure temperature in the summer in Fahrenheit and Celsius in the winter. It's really fucked up.
Okay, nice. You just look in the distance and you see 8 Mile and Eminem hanging out right there.
Oh, that was hilarious. When I watched that movie, it was like, oh, been there. Yeah, that was hilarious. But dude, I used to gig on 7 Mile. We used to play at this place called Blondie's, which was just horrifying, the neighborhood it was in. I mean, like, the corner store across the street, was completely encased in bulletproof glass.
Nice.
So, yeah,
awesome.
that's always a bit of a culture shock to a kid from Canada. It's like, wow, this is real. Holy shit.
Now you were coming up in the heavy metal world. Did you guys have freestyle rap battles for heavy metal as well?
No, not at all.
All right.
No. That's the thing. We made some friends with some bands over in Detroit, and some guys I'm still very good friends with, but we all helped each other out. You know what I mean? It's like, we'd all like share gear and that kind of stuff and try and set our gigs up together, all that kind of stuff. A lot of the guys in the Detroit scene in the early 90s were just awesome. So
awesome, man. So quick question. This is pertaining to hair. At that point, how long was your hair? And is there much of a story between then and now as far as that question goes?
No, pretty much the same. I can show you pictures from back then and pretty much the same.
You want the critical details from your microphone to get through to your recording, and the Spectre 1964 101 amplifier provides just that, with unequaled headroom, low noise, and a linear output irrespective of transient audio peaks. Used by Tom Dowd, Muscle Shoals, Stax Studios, and The Record Plant on records by ZZ Top, Aerosmith, Bruce Springsteen, and John Lennon, Spectre 1964 brings that same incredible sound to your studio with the new STX 600 mic pre with built-in comp limiter. Start making classic records again at Spectre1964.com. If you want a digital audio workstation that will give life to your music, from sketching a new idea to composing, editing, mixing, and mastering a finished record, then you want Studio One from PreSonus. Studio One is easy to use with intuitive drag-and-drop simplicity, making it great for beginners yet flexible and powerful for experienced producers. Whether creating beats, recording a band, or composing a blockbuster film soundtrack, you will find everything you need to create your masterpiece. Download your free version of Studio One Prime and get started now at PreSonus, wherever sound takes you. All right, so you started Spectre Sound Studios, did that for a while. What was it like sort of starting up a studio and trying to find these local bands and make all that stuff work?
Honestly, it really wasn't too tough. I mean, I was pretty active on the Windsor scene, so I just called up some friends. I'm like, hey, why don't you guys come out? I'd like to record you. Don't worry about the cost. I need something to get my teeth cut on. And so a couple bands came in. I did a couple tracks. Next thing you know, they're telling their friends. And it's like one guy was a drum teacher. And next thing I know, his student band's coming to record with me. And then, it just kind of blossomed from there. And, this is way before social media or anything like that. This is like 98, 99 kind of thing. And, I think I was pretty much busy from that point till about 2009 when we had the economic slowdown.
Yep. And speaking of social media, there was like the world of Friendster first, and MySpace.
Oh, I got really actively involved promoting the studio like right around 2005, 2006 on MySpace. Absolutely, because I figured it out, and it's like, hey, this is a great way to get the word out about your studio. Yeah, did a lot of bands. I probably do 6 or 7 major projects a year, and this is all the while holding down a full-time job. So I mean,
okay, all right, double time.
And yeah, exactly. I mean, I'd work different shifts. I worked 2 weeks days, 2 weeks afternoons. So I'd track the bands on day shift, and then I'd mix on afternoons. And that would be the thing. I'd dump test mixes onto my iPod and take them to work and listen to them and make notes and that kind of thing. Here's what I want to change when I get home, that kind of thing.
Nice. And then, so you did that for a while, and then you just got to a point where probably you started to see that social media was a lot more fun. When I watch your early videos, I almost get the impression you were just having fun making some videos from your studio, and then maybe it sort of transitioned into a channel that really keeps you occupied. That was just a guess. But what was tell us about like the beginning of starting a YouTube channel and all that.
Okay. It happened completely by accident. I think it was 2011. I paid off my house. Long story about that. Well, just for everybody listening to this, okay, when a bank tells you, when you go to your bank and say, hey, I want to pay my house off, and they say, oh, you'll have to pay a penalty, because they really try and scare you with that shit. Call their bluff and say, okay, great. What's the penalty? Because we don't know. I'm like, well, why don't you find out? They call me back the next day, and I'll be like, oh, penalty's $300. I'm like, I'll be there in 20 minutes.
$300. Yeah,
I was gonna spend about $30,000 in interest paying my house off on over 5 years to save $300.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
so
they're happy to keep you
on their bullshit. And I paid my house off. So that was the thing. I mean, I'd gotten to a point. It was like 2011, something like that. And I'd gotten to a point. I was extremely heavily involved on the Andy Sneap forum from about 2005 to about 2012, something like that. And just a great bunch of dudes who hung out on there. I mean, like a lot of us who hung out there all have careers in the music biz now. Mm-hmm. I mean, like you look at who's who producing metal these days, and they all hung out on Andy's forum. That was another thing. Everybody just helped each other out. I was just talking with David Taro the other day, and I think he's going to come here to LA maybe a day early. We're going to hang out. I'm going to try having him on the show, that sort of thing. But I mean, like, guys like Lasso Lammert and Joey Sturgis and all the Periphery guys, everybody hung out on Andy's forum. Anyway, and that was the thing. I thought I'd put something out. I had written something back in 1998 about getting your band ready for the studio. And I remember I got to about point number 6, and I put it aside, and I never finished it because I just got too busy. So in 2011, I paid off my house, and I said, you know what? I'm going to finish this damn thing. Except I can probably reach more people on YouTube. And instead of just giving it as a handout to bands coming in the studio, I said, screw it. You know what? I'm going to put this out on YouTube. Hopefully I can reach some more people, but you know what? Things are kind of slow right now. And I'm going to say exactly what's on my mind. I'm going to turn off all the filters.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to, give it to everybody straight. And so be it. If it kills my business, I don't care. My house is paid for. I already won.
Nice, man.
So I did how to get your band ready for the studio and put it up on Andy's forum, and it just blew up, And it was great. There was a good divide there. I mean, like half the people said, yes, that's hysterical. Can we get more? And the other half was like, you're going to ruin your business, man. You're going to ruin your business. You're being way too truthful. like it really pissed a few people off. And I did that as a two-parter, and I had no idea, what to do after that. I thought, okay, yeah, I'm just having some fun with it, whatever. I put it out. And it was, I got a bit of a response. And a lot of people were saying, you got to do more. You got to do more. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. So for a while there, I didn't do anything. And then
sophomore slump, man. Could have been a second record. It's the second YouTube video.
Right, exactly. That's the thing. Yeah, the old. You got your whole life to write your first hit record.
Yeah,
that's what you do after. I'm like, well, I kind of said what I wanted to say. I'm not sure what to do, and I've told this story a few times because this is a lot of fun. And I remember we went down to Memphis that summer, and I always wanted to check out Sun Records. Don't go; it's a total tourist trap and a complete waste of money.
Okay.
Yeah, seriously, fuck that place. I started asking the tour guide real questions, and he literally ran away from me. So don't go to Sun Records. What I was gonna buy. I was so pissed off. I wanted to buy a T-shirt, and I'm like, nope, not happening in a million years. Not after that crap. But I remember we're down on Beale Street, and we're checking out a blues band, and the singer's cupping the mic, and you can't hear a damn thing. And I'm thinking. I'm looking, I'm like, oh, wow, this is not just metal. This is universal. And so I came home and did the how to hold a microphone video.
I just watched it. It's brilliant.
Yeah. And I knew I was onto something because the next day I got a very angry phone call from a client of mine.
Oh, yeah?
It was Kay said, you motherfucking son of a bitch. I'll never work with you again. And I'm like, chill the fuck out, dude. But okay. Yeah. Like he was really pissed off because I told him, he had actually, we had done a demo before. We had done several demos, and one was with him on the stand. The other one was with him cupping the mic, and we could not get a good sound out of him whatsoever, but he insisted on doing it that way. Why? Because when singers go to sing live, they cup the mic so they can get more volume because the guy, on the metal scene anyway, usually a guy running the board at whatever gig they're playing has no clue what he's doing.
Right.
So he can't get anything loud without feedback, and he's cranking the treble up and all that kind of thing. So guys cup the mic, and they think that's their sound. Well, it's louder, but it's definitely not better.
It's also less cardioid.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And you get all kinds of horrible feedback issues as well because you're changing it from cardioid to an omni.
Yeah.
Try explaining that to people though, and it's like, oh, it doesn't. And this is where I got the idea for my third video. Was all the comments saying, oh, it doesn't sound bad when I do it.
Nice.
Sure, it doesn't. And so that's why I did Cupping the Mic Works Wonders, and we did it like an infomercial. Kind of like a Billy Mays kind of thing. It's like, yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was genius. I mean, that I'm looking at that video, I think is in front of me right here, and it's got, 350,000 views on it. Are you sick of microphones that make your music sound harsh and brittle? The new Amethyst Mic by Jay-Z Microphones brings you a rich, warm tone with perfect detail using the golden capsule technology. Resulting from 30 years of microphone design, the Amethyst is hand-built using carefully selected parts with Class A discrete circuitry, extremely low self-noise, and an advanced shock mount to make sure your recordings sound awesome. This is my voice on the Amethyst right now. Use the limited time coupon ROCKSTARS to get 50% off the Amethyst Mic at jzmic.com. Your YouTube channel now has grown to like almost 400,000 subscribers, so well done, man.
343, 344, something like that.
Almost 350 then. I'd take it back.
Almost 350. Yeah, it's like, it'll be there in a month or two, hopefully. Anyway, please subscribe. But, and that was the thing. I mean, like, and I didn't think too much of it. But I had a buddy of mine who I'm still working with to this day, who was trying to do YouTube seriously at the time. And he called me up one day. He's like, dude, what's going on with your YouTube channel? I'm like, I don't know what. He's like, you're getting like amazing numbers. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, you better figure out how to do this because you've got what a lot of people want. And I'm like, okay, I have no idea. So
nice.
I'm just like, okay, I don't know what to do next. It's kind of said what I wanted to say. And I was trying a bunch of different things because the studio business had slowed down a little. And like I said, I went to college for more than a couple things. So I was actually working as director of photography on a local film. And was shooting a movie. And this is fast forward to spring 2013. I remember this is right around the equinox because I remember some very long nights. And I got fired off that movie because I don't work very well with complete morons like the director was. This person had no idea how to run a film set and just no concept of lighting, camera angles, any of that crap. It was just a complete clusterfuck. She loved to waste people's time. And I mean, like, we're all sitting around and she's trying to figure stuff out. It's like, people got to get to work in the morning. I'm trying to explain this to her. So she fired me. I'm like,
and how many production assistants did she need? She probably had like 4 of them running all over town, right?
Oh, it was insane. I'm like, okay, well, where's the shoot? Oh, just follow me. How about you give me the address? Like that kind of shit. It's just like, follow you. Yeah, that's how shit get. Anyway, I don't even want to talk about her. But so I got fired from that. And right around the time that a very good friend of mine named John Gillies had released an independent documentary called The Border City Music Project. And it was kind of a documentary about the history of the whole Windsor, Detroit music scene from the 60s right up until present time, who was doing what, this, that, and the other thing. And I went to the premiere. And I remember I did a 2-hour interview for this movie, and they used one line about 30 seconds long. And I got to say the coolest thing in the entire movie. And I remember going to the premiere, and the theater was packed. I'm so glad I went to this because I almost didn't make it. And I said a line where, and this is just completely off the cuff because I really felt it at the time, was I got rid of auto-tune. I uninstalled it. I just refused to work with it anymore because I'm sick of the sound of it. And the whole theater went berserk. Like, it was just like, I got like a huge round of applause for that line. And I'm like, okay, now I know what I'm going to do my show about.
Nice. Yeah, let's see. I don't know if I have it right in front of me, but I know I've seen it. It's there it is. Auto-tune sucks.
Yeah. It's the video is actually called "The Fans Deserve Better," but right. The auto-tune sucks is kind of like a little subtitle for that. I mean, like, auto-tune works really, really, really well at what it does, and that's destroying music.
Yeah, I remember when it first appeared too. We were like, "Whoa, what the hell is this?"
Yeah, and it's like, and I'm sure the people who work at Antares are fine people, and like I said, they make a product that works really well, And it was great. I remember having a discussion there with one of the guys from Melodyne there a couple of years ago. He's like, "Hey, how about I show you how to do it and not ruin music?" And I'm like, I said to him, I'm just ethically opposed to it. I mean, like, I feel the exact same way about pitch correction like you do about software theft.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wasn't much of a reply to that.
Yeah. It just sounded to you like an alternate way to fuck up the music.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, all the records I grew up listening to didn't have auto-tune. I mean, you don't auto-tune Freddie Mercury. You don't auto-tune Rob Halford or Bruce Dickinson or Ronnie James Dio or anybody who could really, really, really sing. So like I said, I'm just ethically opposed to it. It's like, let's hear the singer, not the bullshit.
Yeah. Well, it's nice too, because if you don't even go there, it just leaves you setting the bar high, and you just keep trying to work on your ability to perform the shit until you can get close,
Right, exactly. I mean, like, my favorite records are when they push the musicians to the breaking point. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like that's when the really cool stuff happens. That's when you get, stuff like Bohemian Rhapsody or Number of the Beast or, any number of things. It's just you got to work the musicians really, really, really hard and have them push past their limits.
Yeah. Indeed.
Anyway, back on the story here. So, after, like I said, right around the same time as that film premiere, I got fired off that movie, and I said, okay, great. That was summer of 2014. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to try this YouTube thing for real. I'm going to try doing a video a week. So I called up my buddy. I'm like, hey, let me borrow your Axe effects for a couple of days. I'm going to try it out against a couple of real tube amps. Put that video out, and if you question anything about the Axe effects, is like, being marked for death by a bunch of religious fanatics.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that got a huge response. You know what I mean? And it's like because of the same guy I'd reported the Axe Effects from. I remember going to see him play a few times that spring, and the first half hour of his band show was him on his knees with his ass facing the audience, trying to explain to the sound guy how to hook up the Axe Effects to the PA.
Nice. Well, I don't even use the Axe Effects. So is this like one of the first digital amps or something, or what have we got?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it's an amp sim. It's a hardware amp sim. It's very good. Don't get me wrong. It sounds good. But my friend was relying on house PAs and monitors to hear himself.
Right,
and
right.
That's when you're playing at gigs, when you're not paying the sound guy or you're not bringing your own sound guy, chances are you're not going to hear yourself. And it definitely invited a whole new set of problems. I don't know if house sound guys in the last 4 or 5 years have gotten better at dealing with them. I would hope so. But I mean, I made a video last Friday called "The Axe Effects is just a glorified iPad," which
Nice.
It is in a sense. And oh boy, did that ever set off a shitstorm! It's like poking a bunch of religious fanatics. So, and the thing is, I don't have a problem with the actual sound of the unit. My question is about obsolescence. It's like I still pull out my dual rectifier I bought in the year 2000 and record that every now and then because it sounds great.
Yeah.
I've still got my 5150 I bought in 2005 because it sounds great. Not too many people are pulling out old Digitech units. I don't know.
I mean, I think I have a bass pod sitting upstairs on a shelf that I can't find the power supply for.
Okay, can I come by and smash it sometime?
Maybe so, yeah.
Yeah, maybe you could drop it off a building or something.
Only if I can put it back on the shelf after you smash it, because it'll be that much more famous.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, we should totally do that. Let's do a Fearless gear review this summer or something like that. The Line 6 bass pod. Oh my God.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
so what I love about your channel is that you're like really ruthless and fearless about getting in there and just beating up gear. And one of the videos that I remember seeing you put out, maybe it was last year or the year before around NAMM, you had a pretty awesome video where you took a Line 6 amp out to the desert and you did something special with it. You want to tell us about that one?
Oh man, yeah, that was basically. I've got there's a friend of mine out in Vegas. He's actually I don't know if I'm allowed to. I'm not going to name names. Let's just put it that way. But he's an officer with the Las Vegas Police Department. He's a big fan of the show. He's a really good friend, and he wanted me to do a ride along. And we because I'm a Canadian citizen, we had to jump through a few more hoops, and we had to wait. Right. So we had an afternoon to kill. And he's like, "Oh, let's go out to the range. Let's get some tannerite, and we'll go shoot stuff." And I'm like, what's tannerite? Canadian, eh? And I'm like, oh, it's a high explosive. And I'm like, interesting. I'm like, can we hit a pawn shop on the way out of town? So that's the wonderful thing about Line 6 is if you go to any pawn shop in North America, I guarantee there's going to be a Spider sitting in there at some point. So we grabbed like a Spider 4, just like a little 25 water. I think I paid $50 for it, and we loaded it with tannerite. And I nailed it on the first shot. That was with my reaction. I'd never seen that shit go off before. Wow,
that's hilarious. So you shot it from a distance and it just exploded.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it really blew apart, and yeah, it was pretty interesting.
Awesome.
So, what you don't see is the part afterward that my friend is like, grabs the gun out of my hand. Stop waving around, you moron! Like, good idea. AR-15 is an extremely powerful weapon. Holy crap! Yeah, so I'm just like, okay, I'm done.
That's awesome.
I'll watch you guys shoot stuff, but
I feel like I've also seen you do some videos about Line 6 stuff where you were like, there's some good things about this. It was one with where they had an amp with a tweeter that you could turn off and something. Yeah,
like that was that was the thing. The original Spider 5 was terrible. It was awful. It was hideous. It was like the worst amp one of the worst amps I ever played. I actually thought it was a step backwards from some of the earlier amps. And so we recreated the copier scene from the movie Office Space. We dressed up in suits, the whole deal. We just had a lot of fun with it. You know what I mean? And it's like, I like doing stuff like that. And I want to do more like that. I just haven't figured out what movies to spoof next. But I always love that film Office Space where they just beat the shit out of the copier. I'm like, let's do that to a Line 6 amp. And, a bunch of guys at Line 6 got it. A bunch of them didn't. And that's fine. But, what was I going to say? It's like, the feedback they got forced their hand and they updated the firmware and made it a much, much, much better amp.
Oh, what a trip. That's cool, man. That's
so
good.
like the Mark II version of the firmware is absolutely passable. So I got to give props to Line 6 for, going above and beyond and improving their product. Now, if we can just get the Marshall to fix the chode, that would be a huge help because that amp's a complete pile of garbage as well. I shot-putted one of those off a building there a couple summers ago because we tried one out at Toman and it was just terrible. It's like some things, if you're a company with a wonderful name recognition, you shouldn't sully that name by putting out inferior products.
Right. I was going to say, what qualifies a piece of gear as a candidate for one of your ruthless reviews?
Anything I go out and buy. I don't do sponsored Fearless Gear reviews. I've had companies approach me. I'm like, hey, we're so confident in this, we'll put on Fearless Gear reviews. And I'm like, thanks, but no thanks. I'll just buy it myself.
Right.
So, I just did one on a Gibson 7-string that wouldn't stand tune. It was a $2,500 guitar that will not stand tune no matter how much you mess with it.
Uh-oh.
And it's like, come on, Gibson, get your shit together.
Well, it'll just sound like all the rest of the guitars here. No, actually, I got my guitars set up recently and they sound a lot more in tune now. Do you really want the neighbors banging on the ceiling when you're trying to rehearse or record your music? Do outside noises and computer fans get into your studio mic and ruin your recordings? You could book a pro studio to record every time, but that would add up quickly, and doing permanent construction to soundproof your studio could easily cost up to $100,000. And you can't take that with you when you eventually move the studio. Don't you wish there was an easy solution right now? Whisper Room ISO Booths offers a simple way to install a comfortable, quiet, ventilated ISO booth in your studio with easy line of sight for recording vocals or even drums in a variety of sizes. For 30 years, Whisper Room has been solving studio isolation needs with ISO booths that are shippable, portable, and can be assembled in an afternoon. Now you can get pro vocal recordings right in your home studio, practice whenever you want, and start using real guitar amps again. Get 10% off the 4x4 or 4x6 booth when you mention Recording Studio Rockstars at whisperroom.com. If you're using a Mac in your recording studio and you're tired of feeling like the studio setup you worked so hard to create is becoming obsolete too quickly, then Otherworld Computing is the solution for you. OWC can help keep your existing Mac and studio current and relevant so that you can make great music. Whether you need to upgrade your RAM, install an SSD, add more connectivity, or simply find a great used Mac, you can get the most mileage out of your studio with OWC. Offering a vast library of DIY install videos, 24/7 friendly support, and free shipping in the US on most items over $49, there's no need to get frustrated when you can achieve the speed to create and the capacity to dream at OWC.com. What about, the videos you produce? You talked about like spoofing a movie. Your videos are great, man, and they're well scripted and you just like a real natural on the camera. So I wanted to ask you, like, what do you want to share as far as your thoughts on the process of making a great video? I think if any of us just tried to make one, we'd just get stuck in like an endless litany of edit challenges and every other challenge you can think of. And what have you learned about the process of making a great video?
I wish I could only do one a week. Like my friend Steve Terryberry does one video a week and he just kills it every time. He's got a great one out this week called Rockstars Being Dicks, and it's really good. But, I started doing 3 videos a week back in 2016, I think, and it's been 3 videos a week ever since, and it's kind of brutal, but, it's like I wish I could take a little more time to do it. I mean, I do my viewers' comments videos every week, and those are great. I'll answer about 15, 16, 17 questions, and just try to give out advice on recording. And then I'll do some unboxings and some other stuff. But if I had my way, I'd love to just do one video a week where I just get to review something and just give it the gears and really script it out and whatnot. The trick for everybody out there, if you want to do YouTube, the trick is just do it.
Just do it, figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, you're not going to get anywhere if you don't do anything. Oh, what if people say mean things? Okay, well, here's the thing. People are going to say mean things. They're going to say all kinds of nasty things. that's fine. I mean, like, it's like, are you going to let those people hold you back? That's the question you got to ask yourself.
Yeah.
It's like, why do I give a shit about the opinions of people that would never have the balls enough to come up and say it to my face in real life?
Well, I always had the take that as soon as your first hater shows up, it's a good sign because it means you're making it.
Yeah.
Somewhere along the line, I got one person who I get a 1 thumbs down on every video. Maybe I'll get more now, but I definitely get a consistent 1 thumbs down.
Nice. Yeah, I always get that. I think it might be an ex-girlfriend.
Well, what about, has there been anybody out there in the YouTube and the video creation world that has really inspired you where you're like, oh, definitely go learn from this guy or anything like that? Or girl?
Oh, yeah, actually, there's a few actually. I mean, like Ola England was doing it before me. And so he, I watched a few of his videos early on to see how he was doing it. And I kind of, thought, okay, that's great. Well, if Ola's doing it, he was another Andy Sneap forum guy actually, and he's just crushing it on YouTube right now. Yeah, he's doing fantastic. He was a big inspiration early on. But I mean, like I pick up a lot of my inspiration from stuff not in the recording world. I watch Peter McKinnon quite a bit. Mm-hmm. He's a film and video guy. And he's fantastic. I also watch Casey Neistat because he's a vlogger, so I'm getting vlogging ideas from him. He's great. Aussie Man Reviews, he's hysterical. Watch his video on cricket nut shots. Trust me, you'll laugh your ass off. And let's see what else. Who else? Oh, Fail Army. Fail Army's great.
What about things that you learned about? Obviously, I'm asking a few questions because I'm making some myself too. But sometimes the struggles are just as simple as like, should I make this video by myself or should I wait and do this video with somebody else? Have you learned anything about which of those directions are preferable ever?
Oh, it really depends. I mean, like, it's just kind of like, hey, can somebody make it out? Can I get this video done in time? Can I still have content out if I wait, if somebody else plays on it, or should I just play it on myself? That's all one of the big dilemmas. The other thing is, should I take the time and write out a script or should I just ad lib it? A lot of my Fearless Gear reviews are scripted, but the last one was just ad libbed because the guy came out. And I always find I can work better off of somebody else if I'm ad libbing, if I've got somebody else in the room. Like, I'll do me and Trey Xavier busted a couple videos out in an afternoon at his place just a little while ago. Those are still coming out, and no script, no nothing. But I mean, I always find though, if I can script something and it's mildly controversial, I'll do really well with it. Like I just did a piece for AIX DSP, who's got this new multiband gate for drums. It's just phenomenal. And I made I titled it about not needing drum samples anymore. So naturally, that pissed a lot of people off. It's like,
it's sort of funny that originally it pissed people off that you needed drum samples. Now it pisses people off that you don't need drum samples.
Oh yeah. I get, I've got a bunch of, you're this elitist. And I'm like, what? I want to teach people to record real drums, so that makes me an elitist. Okay.
It was awesome, man. When you talk about scripting something, I know that one of the challenges, if you're trying to actually read a script and do a video, is you're like, how the hell do I don't look like I'm looking at the camera. How do I look at the camera and read something at the same time? Anything you figured out about doing that well?
Yeah, buy a teleprompter. Write it up. There's all kinds of wonderful teleprompter software out there, for iPad and Android, that kind of stuff. And you can buy teleprompters that are designed to work with an iPad. And I've got this one, Voice Prompt Pro, and it's actually voice activated. So as you read it, it will move the text.
Right. Okay.
That's really cool. And you can get a good teleprompter for $150, $200.
So that's actually that like reflective piece of glass that the camera's shooting through, that kind of thing.
And a shroud, like to keep the camera in darkness, that kind of thing.
You always wanted to work in a shroud in darkness. I mean, that was from the get-go, right?
But that's a big one. I mean, like my first couple of videos, you can actually see me looking off camera and reading a script off of like a laptop. And, a bunch of people are like, hey, we can see you doing this. You need to fix this. Okay, let's do that then.
You're like, thanks very much. I could fucking see it myself when I was editing the video and I hated it.
Yes. And I think my record now for reading off the reading off a teleprompter with zero mistakes, I think it's once in 5 years.
Awesome.
I always screw that up. It's like, I'll go off script and then try and get back on, and it always screws me up.
Oh, yeah, me too. I mean, it was actually pretty miraculous that I even read your intro without screwing up this time.
Yeah, I hear you. It's like, I'm just like, gotta slow down and just read what's on the camera. Jeez.
Okay, what about audio? I know sometimes you think of video and you're like, oh, I should just do a video and just show this thing. And then you're like, wait a minute, how do I hear the sound of the Pro Tools and my voice and all these things? Any tips for capturing the audio when you're making a video?
Yeah, if you're using PC, use OBS. It's free. And it does the job, but it's very kludgy. It's very... what's the word? There's a lot of friction with that program and actually getting shit done, right. Unfortunately.
You got to do a lot of testing before you can actually rely on it.
Yeah, exactly. But on one of the reasons that made me switch over to the Mac platform was ScreenFlow. Because ScreenFlow does it really easy and will split all your tracks individually afterwards. And then you drop it into whatever. You can like sidechain your audio. You can sidechain your voiceover over whatever is being played back. Mm-hmm. And that's phenomenal. That is an absolute must, in my opinion. Like I said, you can't get ScreenFlow for PC, so I'm like, okay, well, let's take a look at this Mac thing. Yeah. I need to get things done. I need to get things done quickly, so let's go.
I've used ScreenFlow. I've struggled with it before because sometimes I'd be ready to edit something and then this long progress bar would come across my bottom of my screen and take forever.
You use ScreenFlow to record it and split the audio and then edit in a real editor like DaVinci Resolve.
Does ScreenFlow let you export the individual video and audio tracks separately?
Yes, and you can export individual audio tracks as well. All you got to do is highlight your audio track and then go to extract audio. And if you hit extract all, it'll extract all the individual channels.
Oh, that's great. Great tip. And so Rockstars, I mean, just a reminder, you might not be making videos, but it's just that reminder that no matter what we're doing, it's always a question of like using this app to do this bit and then fuck it for the rest of that. And I'll go over to this app and do the rest of it here. And that's the way we work, right?
Yep. Yeah, ScreenFlow, like I said, it's a great recorder. As an editor, there's some really nice capabilities in it, but it's just slow as shit. Yeah. So I just do everything in DaVinci Resolve. So,
by the way, I hope you've noticed that you've helped up my swearing game on this podcast. You can tell I'm trying to impress you here.
I worked in manufacturing for 25 years as a union guy. I'm allowed to swear.
Right on. Okay, cool. All right, here's a good question for you, man. What's the relationship between oil spills and auto-tune vocals?
Well, yes, that was one of my lines, actually. The same company that destroyed the Alaskan coastline is also responsible for destroying music, and that would be Exxon.
Nice, man. I love those details. You know what it feels like when inspiration hits and you want to capture your great song idea, but then the studio gets in the way and it's just no fun anymore. Wouldn't it feel awesome if you could simplify the process of producing your music from inspiration to final masterpiece? PreSonus Studio One is a powerful digital audio workstation that helps you compose your music with a complete collection of virtual instruments for keyboards and drums, MIDI tools for hip-hop, EDM, and film, a flexible sketchpad with chord charts and key recognition for songwriting and arranging, and classic effects pedals and amp simulators for guitar and bass. With 37 high-quality effects plugins, integrated Melodyne, and drag and drop flexibility, you can easily edit and polish your mixes. And Studio One is the only DAW with a built-in mastering studio so that you can take your record from writing to radio ready all in one place. Download your free version of Studio One Prime and get started now at PreSonus, wherever sound takes you. If you want to capture every nuance of a great performance in your studio, then you're going to need to start with a microphone that is crafted with great care and attention to detail. JZ Mics in Riga, Latvia designs amazing sounding microphones that are handcrafted with jeweler's precision to bring you incredible detail in your recordings. At the heart of JZ microphones is the unique golden drop capsule design, which uses a lighter, faster diaphragm that delivers great clarity and fidelity while avoiding distracting colorations and distortion. tones. This is my voice right now on the new Amethyst microphone with Class A discrete amplifier circuitry, extremely low self-noise, and advanced built-in shock mount technology to bring an expensive sound to your studio for an affordable price. Jay-Z offers a 5-year warranty, free shipping to the US, and a 30-day money-back guarantee. Plus, for a limited time, you can use the coupon code ROCKSTARS to get 50% off the Amethyst microphone at jzmic.com. You know, you had another great one on there about recording metal guitars where you were using not the most expensive mixer in the world, but something that any one of us could have. And I wondered if you wanted to just give us a tip on getting killer guitar metal tones.
Yeah. General rules of thumb when getting metal tones, dial the mic, zero your amp or put everything at 12 o'clock on your EQ and move the mic around until you hear something you like. Generally start with a 57.
Yep.
Vintage 30 is a great speaker, Celestion Greenbacks, or one of my new absolute favorites, the WGS Reaper. Wow, what a great speaker. Mic that up, use less gain than you think you need, and be very careful dialing in the treble. And because you don't want things to get fizzy.
Yeah, nice. Now, I seem to remember in the video you had two different mics going, and they used like a little Behringer mixer or something as the mic breeze, right?
Yeah, exactly. I was over at Ulrich Wild's place, and Ulrich's done a lot of records that I like. And because I asked, I'm checking out all his gear. He's got a lot of nice gear, and then he's got a couple of other things. He had like one of those Art Pro VLA 2s, and I've seen those in more than a few studios here in Hollywood. And the general consensus on that is yes, it's killer for almost no money. It's a wonderful stereo compressor. Grab one if you don't have one, but I was checking things out, and Ulrich's got this 12-channel Behringer mixer in his console, and I'm like, what's up with that? And he's like, oh, we use that on guitars. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. No, seriously, we use that on guitars. These are the best preamps for metal guitars ever, because he used those on all the Death Clock stuff on the show Metalocalypse.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and and this all comes back to the legend of Dimebag Darrell and his guitar sound. I mean, they were working on Great Southern Trendkill, and he couldn't get the sound. He had the amp dialed in, had it all mic'd up, everything, and just the sound was just not happening. And then Dimebag's like, "Oh, I forgot something." Runs home, comes back with this cheap little 4-channel Mackie VLZ Pro.
Nice.
Hooks up two mics. Blends them on the board. Boom, there's the sound. Let's go.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I love hearing that stuff. And it's just a reminder. It takes me back to like the 4-track cassette days when you're like, yeah, the way you get that cool sound that you liked is by using a 4-track, Right.
It's like that's the thing. And so I'll quote Ulrich here he's like, look, we're not recording Celine Dion. You don't need super expensive esoteric mic preamps to record metal guitars because you're really not adding a lot of gain, but that little coloration the board adds when you're mixing the two different mics, generally one's a 57, one's a tom mic of some sort, like a 421 or a Lewitt mic or whatever, or an Onyx DT or whatever. It's that little bit of coloration the board gives you that you can't get in software.
Yeah.
And you just do the blend there. You've got real-time controls. It's the easiest thing to dial those two mics in. And it works brilliantly.
Distorted guitars is something software's gotten a whole lot better at, but it's still, I've still felt like it's the one zone where the real deal always beats the digital emulation.
I would agree. I would agree with that wholeheartedly. I mean, some of the amp sims are starting to get real good, but when it comes to actually, blending mics, that kind of thing, it doesn't quite hold up against the real thing, I don't think.
So let's talk about something that you just designed that we can go get for our guitar rigs. One of the things that I love doing is gaining the shit up out of guitars, but one of the things I can't stand is you get near the in-between notes and it's just noise and hum and feedback and stuff like that. Tell us about the cock blocker. This was actually inspired by some of my viewers, actually, and Reverb and Steel Panther. Long story short, Steel Panther, last year, everybody was doing those tone prints for TC Electronic for like their delay pedals and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And
They did one with Satchel, the guitar player from the band Steel Panther, and he called his preset the Pussy Melter because they're a spoof of like Motley Crue in the 80s, basically. And, he just was, just some good-natured fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, today's outrage politics got offended by it and did this big campaign against TC Electronic. So they had TC Electronic remove that preset.
Wow.
So Steel Panther, turned around and said, okay, fine. You know what? We're going to put out a distortion pedal. We're going to call it the Pussy Melter. And they sold a couple thousand of them, right? And, there's this whole song and dance. There's this whole epic thing. It's like basically, rock and roll versus the forces of stupidity. And so the pedal gets out. It's a bestseller. A couple of people tried selling it on reverb.com, and Reverb thought, playing college politics in real life would be a good idea, so they banned the pedal.
Wow, that'll make it famous.
Yeah, exactly. It was a total Streisand effect. So, anyway, right around this time, I put out a review of this pedal. Steel Panther was kind enough to send me one, and I did a review, and it did really well. And one of the first comments one of the fans put was, "Hey, Glenn, you should do a gate pedal. Call it the cock blocker." And I'm like, that's a fucking fantastic idea. I am gonna do that.
Nice, man.
So I going to these events, I had made quite a few contacts. So I called up a couple friends and I'm like, hey, can we do this? Yeah, and I called up my very good buddy Henning Pauly from the channel HP42 because he's a total pedal nerd. He really knows his pedals very well. And I'm like, if you could do a gate pedal, what would you have on it? So
I like it.
Yeah, and we just discussed it for a little while. He's like, well, it should do this, 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 and this. And I'm like, okay, great. So I called up the designer. I'm like, can we do this? And he's like, yep, let's do it. Okay. 3 weeks later, I had a prototype.
That's great, man. I like that you're doing market research. I have a vision for a future video where you've got like, where you do focus groups. You got like a focus group, a bunch of kids all playing guitars without gates on them in a room, and old ladies with clipboards, I don't know.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, like, the thing is, it's like we put it out on September the 14th or September the 13th. I remember we put it out on a Friday the 13th, and I was sitting there watching the sales, and I'm like, what's going on here? This thing just exploded. I think I've sold 700 of them in the last 90 days.
Wow, that's great, man. Congrats on that. Tell us how it works. What does it do?
It's a sidechain gate. So it's not a traditional gate where it just shuts off your guitar signal. It works with a sidechain in your effects loop. So the guitar goes into your input and the output goes to the front end of your amp, but it's got the blocker in and out, which goes to your amp's effects loop. So when your guitar stops playing, it shuts off your effects loop as well. So you not only get no guitar, no feedback, you also get no noise.
Right.
So your amp goes completely silent.
So I saw in a video you did it where like you're going into like a an amp head with a high gain amp head that had a loop on the back of it, which would go to the pedal in and out. In my situation, if I'm using a combo, I might input it in my pedal board and go from the cock blocker to like the distortions, any of the gain pedals,
right,
and then come back, or any of the noisy pedals really, and then come out of the cock blocker like maybe through a volume pedal into a delay or some kind of ambient pedal, so that it's kind of cool because then you can do distorted stuff and do a short stop on it, but still have it sing out through delays and reverbs and stuff if you want to.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It's super versatile. You just got to try a few things out and see what works.
Yeah. Cause ask me how much heavy metal I'm recording and playing by myself. No, I'm sorry.
It's like, if you watch Henning's video he did on it, he did it on clean guitar. Like he pulled out a single coil Macmol guitar which picks up a lot of noise. And even that great for that. So it's not just for metal. It's just, but it's a hilarious title. I mean, so that was the thing. I mean, like I did a couple of videos and I really got to thank Reverb for this because they were doing an event, or we were doing an event at Henning's place in Germany, and like a YouTuber event for guitar players. And we were all going to auction something off on Reverb to raise money for an animal shelter. And they were all set to go and whatnot. And then somebody in the office found out I was going to be there and they pulled out. They literally said, we're not coming because this person's here. And I just thought, wow, talk about schoolyard bullshit. It's like, wow, we can't be professional enough just to do that. So, I mean, like, so naturally, I did a video about that, and Reverb lost a whole lot of respect for that. And that probably helped me sell that many more cock blocker pedals.
Right on. During the height of record making, Tom Dowd, Muscle Shoals, Stax Studios, Ardent Studios, and the New York City record plant all turned to one company to build their consoles. That company is now Spectre 1964, carried on today through Bill Cheney and Jim Romney. The extremely stable, high-speed circuit design of the 101 amplifier provides unequaled headroom, low noise, and linear output irrespective of transient audio peaks, giving you cleaner, punchier, dynamic recordings. Spectre 1964 brings you the sound of ZZ Top, Aerosmith, Bruce Springsteen, King Crimson, John Lennon, and so many more. Created by the missile engineers who were central in rolling out the systems that protected the free world for over half a century, Spectre 1964 literally brings rocket science to your studio. With the STX 600 mic pre with built-in comp limiter, full-frequency passive BBDI, and C610 dedicated comp limiter, start making records that last a lifetime at spectre1964.com. Let's do a little plug for it. Where should the Rockstars go if they want to go check out this pedal and go get one?
That's a very good question. Let me try finding it. I've got a link I can send you. It's like a bit.ly link. Let me see.
Yeah, we can put it in we'll put it in the show notes.
Okay.
So people click through.
So you can do a Google search for because it's a terrible name. It's actually I'm not even going to go there. Stompbox Seals. What is this?
Hey, has anybody tried it on bass yet? I mean, sometimes we get buzzy bass in here.
Oh yeah, it works great on bass.
And so that leads me to another question, which is getting a killer bass recording on metal records. What do we need to know about that?
Change your strings. I always love that. It's like I'm always, I get this comment so many times, well, James Jamerson never changed his strings. And I'm like, well, James Jamerson never played on Injustice for All. It's like crying out loud. It's like, it's a metal show. Okay. It's like, it's like people just, they got to get their 2 cents in, but it's like, everything I do on my show is in the context of metal and rock production. I mean, like, that's wonderful. It works for jazz. It's wonderful. It works for Motown. Wonderful. I'm not doing jazz and Motown.
Yeah, no gut strings and heavy metal?
No, not really, no. It's like, you can play flat wounds, though. Go put on some Iron Maiden records. Steve Harris plays flats, but he still gets a wonderful attack on his sound because he changes his freaking strings.
That's awesome.
You want that bright attack because you're never going to hear it otherwise under that dense layer of distorted guitars.
So one of the things that I wanted to ask you about too before we close out here, because I know you don't have a whole lot of time today, is I feel like in your videos I've seen you using Reaper, and I wanted to ask if that's the DAW that you use often, and if you have anything you want to talk about in that realm.
Sure. I really like Reaper. Been using it the last few years. I used to be a Saw Studio guy, and it's just basically, I worked with that for about 10 years, but after 10 years, I needed to change just so I got tired of looking at the same screen over and over and over again. I really like Saw. I love the sound of it. Bob Lentini did a magnificent job on it, and he's definitely a maverick in his own right. Wrote it in assembly code, actually. So, nice. But like I said, I needed to change, so I switched over to Reaper. And I really like, just how customizable it is, the different skins that are available. Just there's a lot of serious capability in that program, and it works well with what I need it to do. And the editing system is fantastic as well.
Mm-hmm. What about the editing system?
You can customize it. I mean, like for doing drum edits, that kind of thing. I found myself actually last few years I was recording in Saw Studios, exporting the drums into Reaper and editing them there because it was just easier to edit there.
Yeah, there's a great video where you and Warren Hewart are together showing off Reaper, and you're just going through and chopping up chunks and sections of the drums, and then with a couple of key clicks, you can just see all the drum tracks shifting closer to the grid.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a pretty simple. I mean, like, I guess there's a way to even do that automatically now. I never bothered to learn it.
If you can do it quickly by hand, you don't need automation.
Yeah. Exactly. And this thing, I'd rather not do it at all, to be honest with you. It's like, I'd rather much hear, the drummer himself, and it's like, if I can get away with it, I'll leave the drums as they are. Yeah. That's so rare in metal these days, though.
Yeah.
Nobody does that anymore.
I bet. And then John Tidy was on the podcast quite a while ago, and we were talking about Reaper, and he was talking about how Reaper is also great for editing your videos.
Really?
Is that something you've tried at all?
Never, not even once.
No.
Yeah, it's like I use an actual video production, suite called DaVinci Resolve, and a lot of Hollywood films are graded on that, like colorized and whatnot. But they've really stepped up their editing game, and it's fantastic. And they've got a new system called Cut, and it's specifically for YouTubers and people who need to get footage out quickly. So it really just speeds up the entire process.
Oh, that's good to hear, because I often, when I'm editing videos, I'm like, good God, how can I just get this out as fast as possible?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you don't want to spend too much time messing around. But fortunately, I've also hired an editor, and that's kind of helped me get ahead of the game. And, so I mean, like, I think I've got videos ready pretty much for the rest of December. And so it's like I can actually take a little bit of time and write some scripts now about some upcoming year videos, that kind of thing. And I'd have a lot more fun with those, the ones that I can script, especially if I can take a couple days on a script and to really just tweak it out.
Yeah, well, that's one thing I feel like I've learned about, making video content, which is similar to doing songs. I'd rather focus on preparing for it and just performing it and not get stuck on what to do after that.
Right.
You can it's like taking forever to mix your song and never releasing it.
I think we've all been there.
What's some of the dumbest things you've heard people do in the studio or say in the studio?
Oh, geez. Where do we get started? Oh, well, yeah. Oh, it sounds better when I cup the mic. Yeah, that's number one.
Nice.
Or no. It's like, have a meeting with a band, tell them to get new bass strings. Of course, the bass player shows up, doesn't have new strings. Yeah, that's happening a number of times. Oh, this is great. The guitar sound doesn't sound like the way I want it to. Okay, great. Well, how are you practicing? Well, I practice my electric at home every day. Great. Are you plugged into an amp? Well, no.
Just not plugged into anything, or just like
exactly not plugged into anything. Practicing electric guitar like that, and it's like, well, how do you expect to get a great guitar tone if you're not practiced into an amp? I mean, like, it's a completely different ballgame.
Oh, that's hilarious.
It's like, make it sound like this. Well, how do I do that when you've tied one hand behind my back?
I remember when I was engineering and a producer came in and he was incredibly neurotic. And he stood behind me the whole session. It was a demo session with some country singer. And he was dry brushing his teeth in the control room all day long while we were working. So I'm trying to mix it. And he's behind me going like, just nervously. And then he would be like, what's the smallest amount you can move that fader right there? What's the teeniest bit? And I was like, well, I don't know. This is a real fader too. I was like, I'll just touch it with my fingernail. He's like, great. That's good. Right there.
Wow.
Want to record killer drums in your home studio? Rockstars of Drums will show you how to record, edit, and mix pro-sounding drums with a Nashville session drummer in a Grammy-winning studio. Want to start mastering your own records? Rockstars of Mastering walks you through exactly how I mastered my own record using nothing but plugins in PreSonus Studio One. Want to learn how to create a mix that doesn't suck but rocks instead? At Mixmaster Bundle, I show you how to mix using stock and free plugins so that you can have punchy, powerful drums, guitars that rock, bass you can feel, and a mix that is in your face. Plus, it's totally free as my way of saying thanks for listening. Then go to mixmasterbundle.com to get started for free now and look for the clickable link in the show notes below. Awesome, dude. Closing questions so I can let you go and get back to your session. Without going into the details of it, what kind of music are you recording next and what you're excited about here? What kind of session are you getting into?
I'm actually revisiting an older song that I did way back in 2010. The song's called As the Empire Falls. It's by a band called Final Stage. But that's one of the wonderful things about being in LA. I've actually called over a couple of friends. I'm going to be doing a mix lesson on this, but it's like I got a buddy of mine who called me up and asked me if he could track some bass here this afternoon. I'm like, great. I'm like, hey, by the way, can you play on this track? He's like, hell yeah, let's do it.
Awesome.
So he's like, honestly, one of the best bass players on the planet. So really looking forward to that. So that's Anthony Crawford, actually, who's just Unbelievable. I think he headlined the bass thing at NAMM last year.
Oh, nice, man. When you finish it, send me a link and I'll see if it makes it up onto YouTube, because I do have Final Stage Demons Will Fly in our YouTube playlist for you.
I mixed that a long time ago. I didn't track that one. That was done at Metalworks in Toronto, actually. And honestly, not one of my favorite mixes by them. I think we did better in my garage, to be honest with you.
Nice.
But this new one, we tracked the drums here in LA a couple weeks ago. We had Bruno Valverde from the band Angra playing drums, and then I've got Anthony coming in this afternoon. We're going to do a couple things. Should be a lot of fun.
Very cool, man. When you started out in recording, or maybe in the YouTube stuff, what do you feel like was holding you back?
Holding me back from YouTube?
Yeah, just holding you back from moving forward like you wanted to or needed to.
Nothing real other than myself. Nothing. I mean, like that's the thing. I mean, like as far as YouTube's concerned, I mean, like I'm just I always felt that I'm responsible for my own success. Nothing was really holding me back. I had the gear. I had the knowledge. It's just, okay, time to do this.
Awesome, man. Let's jump to the closing question. If this was hypothetical, we're going to take the Wayback Studio machine. You go back and find young Glenn, and you just be like, listen, dude, first off, you got to grow your hair out. Second off, here's the single most important thing you need to know to be a rock star of the studio one day. What advice would you like to go back and give yourself if you could?
The musicians are their own worst enemies.
Okay. All right.
They really are. They're going to do everything they can to fuck up their own records.
Any thoughts come to mind about like recent examples of a musician fucking up their own record?
Ooh, that I can discuss. Like I said, it's just people coming in not prepared, that kind of stuff. I mean, like not so much here in LA, but back in Windsor, absolutely. People really have no concept of just what it takes to actually lay down a record. It's like, did you practice? Yep. Did you practice into an amp? Nope. That kind of stuff. Or like I said, the big thing it's always the bass players, because the bass players would never be practiced. They come to, because most of them just wanted to be in a band without actually being a musician. And they'd be the people who wouldn't spend very much money on an amp, so nobody would hear them at band practice. And when they come into the studio, the bass lines were really lacking. And in metal, you really need good bass lines, and you need a bass well played, or the whole thing just kind of falls apart. So I've seen many, many, many records destroyed by bass players who were just basically the shitty guitar player.
And so is bass usually like the Ramones, just following the guitar line, or is it doing something different?
Depends on the band. I mean, like every once in a while, you're going to get a brilliant bass player in who can really move a song and give it, exactly what it needs, and that's great. But in small towns, that's usually not the case. It's usually the friend of the band who can't really play. It's much more of a Stu Sutcliffe kind of case, as opposed to getting Victor Wooten. All
right. So what about the drummers? How are they their own worst enemy on the record?
These days, not so much. Drummers used to fight with me quite a bit, but now they, as my skills grew and they hear the drum sounds I can get, usually they're more than willing to work with me. I just find a lot of drummers, they'll maybe have their cymbals a little too close to the toms, the hi-hats a little too close to the snare, that kind of thing. Makes getting that separation you need that much more difficult. And you explain to them, like, look, you can move your cymbals, or we can replace everything with samples, and we can hear somebody else play your drums.
Nice. I like that. We can hear somebody else play your drums. And then I guess we may have covered it when we were talking about autotune, but how are the vocalists screwing up their own records?
Usually not too bad. Usually the vocalists are pretty receptive when I tell them, hey, we're not doing this with autotune. We're going to do this for real. I've never really had anybody fight me on that and demand, I need autotune. Usually the vocalists are up to the challenge for that. They're like, oh, great. I get to hear me. They like that.
Nice. I guess a takeaway is just a reminder that it doesn't mean you don't get to do studio tricks if you're not using autotune, because they were, back in the day, they were punching the crap out of a vocal performance until they nailed everything they wanted to, if they wanted to, and we still are allowed to do that today. Oh yeah, it's like me. I'll comp a vocal. I'll do 4 or 5 takes and just kind of find the best bits, put it together, and there we go. And if we need anything after that, we'll bring the singer back in. Awesome, dude. Thanks so much for being on Recording Studio Rockstars with us, man. Can't wait to see you out at the next NAMM, AES, whatever it is I see you at. And let the Rockstars know how they can go find you online, and what if they need to come make their next big metal record.
Yeah, you can find me online, obviously, at youtube.com/Spectre Sound Studios, Spectre Media Group on Facebook and Instagram, at Spectre MG on Twitter, that kind of thing. Just hit me up there. I'll be in Hollywood at least until the end of February, maybe a little bit longer, and then I'm going home for the spring, I think.
Awesome.
Maybe the summer too. We'll see.
Well, that's when they'll be hearing from us anyway, so we'll see you guys in the spring.
All right, fantastic. Thanks so much for having me on, Liz. This was a lot of fun.
Groovy, dude. Great to see you, man. We'll talk soon.
All right, take care, man.
Cheers. Thanks so much for listening to Recording Studio Rockstars. If you enjoyed the show and want to help make it better, then please share this episode with your friends on social media and leave a rating and review on iTunes to help the podcast reach more rock stars like yourself. You can click directly over to iTunes or go to rsrockstars.com/review for an easy explanation. And remember to hit the subscribe button to keep up with weekly episodes. And if you're ready to make your best record ever now, then head over to Recording Studio Rockstars Academy, where you can start with my free course at mixmasterbundle.com. And if you want more free content from Recording Studio Rockstars, all you have to do is go to rsrockstars.com/email. Again, that's rsrockstars.com/email to enter your name and email, and I'll keep you in the loop with articles, videos, podcast updates, and even free gear giveaways for your studio. Just look for the link in the show notes below. Thanks so much for listening, and thanks for being a rock star. I'm Lid Shaw, and this is Recording Studio Rockstars. Now, go make great music. Recording Studio Rockstars would like to give a big thank you to our amazing sponsors who helped make this episode possible. OWC, Whisper Room, Spectre 1964, PreSonus Studio One, JZ Microphones, United Plugins bringing you Hyperspace, Royal Compressor, Fire Cobra, and Front DAW, and Audio Movers, helping stream high-quality audio directly from your studio. You will find links to all these wonderful sponsors in our show notes. These are all things I highly recommend for your studio. They're going to help you make your best record ever. So thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.